From the people who brought you the weirdly obsessed with sexually based offenses podcast, the Law & Order podcast devoted to those particularly gruesome episodes of Law & Order SVU you just can't help watching over and over again, and have you asking, just who the hell is Dick Wolf anyway, and can he be trusted if he figured out we would all weirdly like this shit? And the people who brought you the fierce small-town America where your kid's driving instructor is definitely going to chop up your church group with an axe while wearing the rotting carcass of a goat show. The true crime podcast that has everyone wondering just how often does that happen that there is enough material out there to sustain a whole show. And a couple of people and their aunties who partially brought you the how is it that in the midst of the weirdest years in living memory, everyone has escaped into even weirder stories about school teachers molesting corpses, drugged up masturbating local weathermen who have closets specifically for skulls, hillbillies who live with dangerous and diseased monkeys who definitely misunderstand the Bible and like to construct go-karts from the frog bones that litter the swamps that they inhabit because nowhere normal can sustain them, and part of the time, due to skin irritations and loud uncontrollable flatulence, they're forced to live in a polystyrene cooler across which is scrawled "Don't open till Christmas," and the rather bizarre tale of the coven in Idaho that likes to practice ancient rituals designed to bring about Armageddon while also using it as an excuse to be mostly naked a lot of the time and quite rampantly use their tongues program. A podcast that will have you asking, don't you think really at this point there are too many podcasts? And a few of the people at the back wearing sou'westers and tickling puppies who definitely didn't bring you that podcast about the frauds, I mean ghost hunters, who go out into the world and defraud, I mean help, old ladies, try to make peace with all the hideousness of existence while definitely stealing their jewelry and trying to cop off with their confused granddaughters, each of whom have their own podcasts all entitled How the Fuck Did We Get Here and Can We Be Bothered to Clean It All Up? Shows which in some way or other essentially pretend to be about the state of the world when really it's about their inability to deal with the very true loneliness and anxiety that gnaws away at their souls and forces them to make those ridiculous duck faces on Instagram. And an old drunkard and his dog, long past their bedtime, who once sneezed next to Peter Stringfellow in a pizza piazza in Stoke, who brings you the After Movie Diner.
You're listening to the sweet sounds of the After Movie Diner. Support us at patreon.com/After Movie Diner. Or I'll punch you in the teats. Rate and review us on iTunes, Earthling. And now, here's your host, John Cross.
Hello and welcome to a very, and I mean very, average episode of the After Movie Diner. I would love to say special episode because it is our 9th anniversary, but I'm sorry, it's just a normal episode. We didn't plan anything special. I feel
like you're setting the bar kind of high by describing it already as average. I feel like that's leaving us quite, do you know what I mean? I'm not sure we're going to be able to hit that.
So this will give you a chuckle. I have been doing on the medias of the social medias, I have been doing this campaign, not a campaign, but just like a thing where I'm trying to say like support indie, support creatives, support stuff, and it has a large
give you money basically.
No, it's not about me. I've actually been taking the day every single day. I've been trying to make sure that I share something, retweet something, buy something, support something, do some work for someone, whatever it is. Like I did some designs for another podcast's merch store because they needed some designs doing. I bought a book that a friend of mine wrote. I promoted another book that another friend of mine wrote. Like that kind of stuff, right? And I've been doing this whole thing about support indie. And every day I just kind of say like it's crazy considering all the free ways in which one could support an indie creative or a local shop. It doesn't have to be a creative. It could be a shop or a store or a restaurant or whatever. You know, there's a lot of people affected by virus who might like a bit of support. And there is a ton of ways, all, you know, whether it's sharing or commenting or tweeting or liking or regramming or whatever it is. Plenty of ways you can do it for free, mate.
Regramming a word?
It is now. There's plenty of ways.
I thought I'd heard it around, and sometimes you hear a word and you think, I think I've heard that word twice now. I better get on board this word train, or at least, you know what I mean? And leaves me behind for good.
I better get on board this.
I'm definitely at that stage of middle age, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Where you look at a word like regram and you're like, do I bother picking it up or shall I just leave it where it is?
Like, I can't really at this point, in all honesty.
Well, you're not on Instagram.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, Instagram was a point where I drew a line in the sand and went, I don't care. I hate photos of me, so what's this about?
Right, exactly. So anyway...
I mean, it's not just me, by the way. Everybody hates photos of me because of my face.
I like photos of you. But anyway, I've taken photos of you and enjoyed it immensely. So none of that negative tosh about your bum face, mate. We love it. Anyway... there are lots of free ways in which one can support creatives, independents, people who are struggling, whatever it is. There are also some charities where for merely $5 buckaroos, one can, feed a child or clothe someone. So lots of things one could be doing. So I put out on again to Instagram this week, one of those little plugins whereby people can comment back at you in your Instagram story, right? You ask a question and they can fill in the little box there. And I said, what have you done today to support indie creativity? To which my friend Doug responded, I listened to 45 minutes of you and your friend cursing at each other and then another 40 minutes going through IMDb. And I went, that's fair. That really is what the last episode was. But that's fine. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But totally fair. But yes, I
don't know what else they're tuning in for. What else are they expecting? What else are they expecting to hear?
Right, exactly. Like it's not like we promised something that we didn't deliver. That's
right.
Although I did notice recently, this will give you a tickle as well. I'm going to bring this up. Now Doug's just going to accuse us of going through iTunes or whatever, but I don't care at this point. I've given up all protests, really. Not protests.
Happy 9th birthday. In fact, if we had a card, it would be Happy 9th birthday. We don't care anymore.
No, I've given up all pretense. Is that the word I'm looking for?
I don't know. Of what?
It's not of anything. Pretense is the word. No. So back on November 9th, this was Christopher Rantz reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. And he was clearly...
This can't be good. If it was a good review, then you would have told me already.
Yeah, it's not a good review. It's a terrible review. It's 1 star. It's the only 1-star review we've had in our entire
What's his name?
Christopher Rantz. And what's funny about this is I bring this up because you were saying, like, what do people expect from the show, right? So he was also clearly reviewing us as he was listening because it's sort of this mad run-on sentence. So anyway, the headline...
It's his thing, like Christopher Rantz, that he leaves ranty reviews about things.
Again, there's some hypothesis right there. I mean, if you came to the After Movie Diner podcast for some Jim hypothesis, boom, straight out the gate, Jim is hypothesizing based on nothing other than a first name and the word rants. But I'll go with it. Sounds great. So anyway, he writes as his headline, "So boring." Right? That was the headline.
Oh, yeah. What episode was it, by the way? Does he say?
You'll find out. You'll find out. Okay. He then goes on to say, in a run-on sentence that doesn't quite make a lot of sense, "Get to the freaking review. Listening to you order is boring. I cannot believe people listened to this crap. Seriously, learn to freaking edit. OMG, 12 minutes before mentioning the main review. Finally, now they are talking about movie Rambo. I mean, definitely not going to subscribe. A break now. Okay, I'm not listening anymore." So, by the way, I absolutely adore that review. If someone out there is wanting, and I tell you why I adore the review. I adore the review because he assumed that the After Movie Diner was a review show, but it's not. The After Movie Diner is meant to be a conversation that you have in a diner after a movie. That's what it's meant to be.
Yeah.
It never...
If it was like, today we're talking about Rambo. I thought Rambo was good. I liked the way there were guns and explosions. Really, I thought other Rambo movies were better. Oh, that's interesting. Why don't we talk about Rambo movies? Like, fuck off. Who wants to listen to that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Imagine, I mean, if you want like boring people talking about like what they thought of a movie, well, you could listen to this podcast, I suppose. But at least we provide other things than that.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the whole point.
In other areas.
My feeling was that
diversifying in our boringness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, but this was my thing. My feeling is this: if you want to movie review show, there are a bazillion gazillion out in the world whereby you can go, well, you know what? I don't like Jeff and Bob's reviews. I'm going to go over to Neil and Alan's reviews of things. Or I'm going to go to Celia and Betty's reviews because I would like a female perspective. Or I'm going to go to Alan, Betty, and, you know, Carpathia, who all got together and decided to form a mad podcast about everything. Like, there's so many things that are out there to which you could invest your time.
And somehow we've been doing this one for 9 years.
We've been doing this one for 9 years, 300 and something episodes. I think.
And we've proved that word of mouth, at least as far as we're concerned, is like, I mean, what even is it?
Yeah,
I mean,
doesn't matter. None of it.
We're not like a sleeper hit as like a coma hit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, not only that, but it was our 9th birthday, and I've had to put literally a groveling, guilt-ridden message on social media to even get any kind of response, except, of course, from the two most wonderful of people, one of whom left us a speak pipe message and one of us left us a voicemail message. James Sato, who is a phenomenal Canadian gentleman who produced Herschel Gordon Lewis's last ever movie, Blood Mania, which everyone should check out. It's a good little anthology indie movie, definitely worth watching. A lot of fun and a good send-off to Herschel Gordon Lewis. But he has been a supporter of the podcast, many, many, many years. I want to say he was one of the first to jump on board the AMD train and pull the whistle. And I'm saying like that.
Or not?
No. No, but I'm talking like, you know, like truck drivers have the and then like trains have the choo-choo. Like I'm talking about like a positive.
What year do you think it is, just out of interest?
I'm talking about
choo-choo.
No, I know. I'm talking about a positive whistle noise, not like pulling the whistle or blowing the whistle like being negative. Anyway, I'm getting into a whole whistle conundrum here. I'm going to steer away. But right. James Sato has been a huge supporter of the show since day one, which has been lovely. And I strongly suggest everyone to check out Herschel Gordon Lewis's Blood Mania. As it is, as I say, it's on Amazon right now, I believe, or it certainly was. It certainly was up until recently. But yeah, watch Herschel Gordon Lewis's Blood Mania on Amazon. It is still there. Go watch it. It's a lot of fun. And then rate and review it for James and say how much you loved it. Because, again, indie films, they need us to bang the drum. They need us, Chief, and they will bang the drum.
Hi, this is James Sato, producer of Herschel Gordon Lewis's Blood Mania. I just want to congratulate my favorite podcast, The After Movie Diner, for 9 great years on the air. Keep it up, John. Love the show.
Much like my friend Craig Everett Earl's film Intrusion Disconnected, for which yours truly has a couple of songs and even a voice cameo in the movie.
Is that the one that's on Tubi?
No, it's not. No, that's the first one of the series. I didn't really know Craig that much then, but he's made a sequel which is coming out later in the year. And I'm in the sequel, and I did a song for the sequel.
What's the song?
Part Machine from...
Please can I be in your sequel?
Yeah, that's what it was.
It only has to be my voice.
It only has to be my voice. But please, so that I can add another IMDb credit, put me in your sequel. La la.
How is your IMDb page, right? So you've got Local Legend, Slingshot Cops, and Metal Detector Maniac, unreleased, right?
I have
you did a song for somebody, right? For a movie?
For Pigheaded. A documentary by my friend John Kinhart.
No. There's some. Didn't you do like for a short? There was like a short film or a.
I did. You're Going Back Now for my friend's Uncle Susan Productions. I did I did whole soundtracks for them.
And are they on the IMDb page?
I believe so.
So that's pretty healthy.
Yeah, I've done a few things. I've been around a bit, Jim. I've been around. Macbeth unreleased, of course.
Oh wait, are you on that? Because I'm not on Macbeth.
No, but I should be on it, but I'm not. I'm just saying I should be on it. Everyone should be on it who is involved. Zombie ! Unreleased. Lots of stuff that was unreleased.
Did you put that in?
No, I didn't yet. No. But what was I saying about that?
You want to intrigue people. You should definitely have writer, director, producer, stars, zombie ! Unreleased. Like that's a teaser right there.
Right there for something no one will ever be able to see. So Craig Everett Earl, Intrusion Disconnected, coming out soon. Look out for it. Also, I recently interviewed Scott Adkins and...
Why not call it Intrusion?
What?
Well, it's Intrusion 2, right? So Intrusion.
Well, that's not what it is. Don't confuse people. I'm trying to promote his movie.
I thought the first movie was called Intrusion, no?
Yes. And so the second one is called Intrusion Disconnected, I believe.
Right, no, I get it, but I'm saying if the first one was called Intrusion and the second one is a sequel, then rather than Intrusion 2, you're going to call it Intrusion, see? Do you see what I'm saying?
Right, but
this is type of wordplay I've managed to unearth.
Right, but he doesn't work for Blumhouse.
All right. I'm just saying, if I'd been in the room, probably better that I wasn't. But
right. Well, anyway, Intrusion Disconnected.
Intrusion Disconnected brackets Intrusion.
No.
AKA Intrusion. It says like, Canada or whatever. When it's like different titles.
Wait, when it's Canada or whatever.
Like Canada, Intrusion, whatever. Right, but then it'd be like Intrusion Disconnected, and then in brackets like Jim's head, Intrusion.
Jim's head.
Yeah, in my brain. It was when I see it, it'll be released in my brain as Intrusion.
Oh, I see. So you're saying you want an IMDb, like a country category that is released in Jim's head?
Yeah, as Intrusion. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Released in old ye bumface's brain noggin. Yeah.
That's the official.
That's the official one.
That's how it reads. Yeah.
Yeah, but no. That won't be happening. I'm just saying, could everyone please check out my friend's thing, Intrusion Disconnected? I
agree. I'm just saying. Yeah.
Hello, this is Craig Everett Earl, writer and producer of Intrusion and Intrusion Disconnected. I was just calling because I wanted to wish John Cross and the After Movie Diner happy birthday. I always remember when it's the After Movie Diner's birthday because it's actually the same day as my birthday every year, which is cool. We've both been around for a while. I'd like to keep it that way. It's been a crazy year, so let's keep going and have many more. That'd be fantastic. I just wanted to say congratulations with all the success with everything, all the fantastic interviews and stuff you guys do all the time, reviews, all that good stuff, all the support you've given me and everybody else, both mainstream and independent films. Music, everything else that you guys support. Thank you so much, and happy birthday, and congratulations.
I also plan to review, these things are all coming up on the website very soon. I'm also planning to review my good friend Justin Timpaine's Cancelled movie called Cancelled, which he just sent me the screener over for. So check out Justin Timpaine's work. He's done some great stuff. As I said, I've interviewed Scott Adkins and Adrian Ball all about their movie Legacy of Lies. I'll be doing a review for that before the release on July 28th. But check that one out as well, because although, yes, it does have a star in it of Scott Adkins, and it's certainly obviously a bigger budget than some of my friends' movies, it is also a little indie action movie trying to find its voice amongst the plethora of much larger films and the pantheon of screen.
Right, not a bad time, right? I mean, there's not a lot of new content out there, so, people want fresh, they want new, they want groovy.
If you want fresh new, if you want
they summarily rejected us and what we have to offer.
Right.
Because we are neither fresh nor cool, nor groovy.
Because instead of saying, wow, 9 years, what an achievement, they're like, yeah, it has been 9 years. That's what the reaction is.
It's that how much of my life
Yeah.
has gone by,
Yeah.
is what they're thinking.
Well, also, if you probably
Well,
add...
like Existential Crisis, the podcast, if you think about how long you've been listening to us,
Yeah.
you start reevaluating your life choices.
I wonder if we renamed the podcast Existential Crisis, the podcast, whether we'd get more listeners.
They might not complain about us, but like debating over what to order. They go, oh, it's so on the nose, the Existential Crisis, as they go, oh, I don't know whether I want a burger or an omelette. Oh, that's right. Oh, the metaphor. Oh, burger or omelette. Existential.
Yeah.
And now they're speculating wildly about the motives of people they've never met. Oh, existential crisis.
You could just call it angst and ennui.
Angst and ennui, yeah.
I could be angst, you could be ennui.
I think that's how that would break down, yeah. If we had to pick, yeah. I feel like that's right.
Tonight on Existential Crisis, the podcast, Jeff Angst and Alan Ennui discuss.
I quite like Stevie Ennui. I like Stevie Ennui.
No, because then that goes... Stevie is too dynamic a name to be on the front of the word ennui.
Steve Ennui? Steve Ennui. Steve Ennui.
No, because then the E and the E together. I mean, all right, Steve then. Alan
Steve
is
Ennui.
just a...
I mean, it flows, Steve Ennui.
Steve Ennui.
Steve Ennui.
Steve Ennui.
See, the more you say it, the more fun you're having.
Yeah.
Steve Ennui.
Yes, but the whole point of ennui is that you're not having any fun.
But that's the torture for Steve Ennui. Is he just wants to be allowed to feel ennui, but every time he has to introduce himself, there's a little bit of fun doing it, thereby wrecking his whole... He's consistently in a place of existential crisis, because he can't even have ennui.
If you added IA to the end of it, and it was like Steve Ennuivia, it would sound like one of those drugs that they sell on the nightly news. Don't take Steve Ennuivia if you're pregnant or carrying heavy babies, whatever.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't sound like that, yeah.
I mean, ennui in general could be a drug name at this point. You know what
ennui
I mean?
could definitely be a drug name,
Yeah.
yeah.
Don't take ennui if you've had bleeding ear heads or whatever. You know.
Are you working too hard? Try ennui.
Eczema, take 2 ennui and call me in the morning. Yeah. So anyway, no, what I'm trying to say with all this, Jim, is that the positivity that I'm putting out into the world, right? This is my whole thing. We can all do outrage, and I totally understand the outrage, and I'm on board with the outrage. I get why there's outrage, and we can do calls to arms and stand up for your rights, all that, and I love it. Do that. It's fantastic. But if you honestly, on a daily basis, want to genuinely make the difference in individuals' lives, and make the world that you create around you a better place, there is, I hasten to say, no better place to start than the very simple act of just reminding yourself on a daily basis and educating yourself on a daily basis to support something that you see that you love. Like, just kind of be like, hey, I love the burgers from that place, and that place is probably struggling right now because of COVID. I'm going to retweet, share, whatever, the burgers, or I'm going to call up my friends, and while I'm on the phone to my friends who I know live in the same town, go, hey, you should go check out the burgers. They're great burgers. Whatever it is, word of mouth, tweet, share, retweet, whatever. And if you've got a little bit of money, all like Patreon and donating and sponsoring and sharing, it's all good. Just do it once a day. I've been doing it, and it's been making me feel better. That's my little thing.
I think that's not. I've always admired your championing of, like, if it weren't for you, I would never have found Farley and Charlie and that whole crew, and I've been enriched by that experience.
Well, this is what I like about it. If you support Walmart or Starbucks don't really give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like, they don't know who you are, and it's not that I don't understand why those places exist, and it's not really that I'm particularly anti those places in all their forms, but there's certain things they could do better with the environment and with child labor. But outside of that, like, I'm not against them as a concept, but they don't care. Like, you go buy something from their store, it doesn't make a difference. It's Scrooge McDuck jumping into a large vat of coins. Like, nobody cares. But you seek out a struggling author's book, or you buy an album by a little indie music dude, or you listen or share a podcast done by a couple of locals, those people know about it. It's like what Farley always says, like he knows his audience as much as they know him, right? And there's something kind of wonderful in that. And that's all I'm saying.
I know, I agree, mate. I think it's a very noble sentiment.
Anyway, so with
don't
that...
be like Steve Ennui, is what you're saying.
Don't be Steve Ennui or Jeff Angst. Don't be Jeff Angst.
Let joy into your heart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's our 9th birthday, so I feel like what better platform than to use our 9th birthday to support other people. So that's what I'm doing.
Very wise, mate.
Check out Justin Timpaine's work. Check out Craig Everett Earl's work. Check out James Sato's production of Herschel Gordon Lewis's Blood Mania. Check out Legacy of Lies when it comes out on July 28th. It's a good movie. It's one of those action movies that has a little bit of a plot and a little bit of a message, should you choose to see it, underneath all the kung fu kicks. It doesn't shy away from the action, but it has something to say, which I love. I thought it was awesome, and it's beautifully photographed, I have to say. Like, that's the best thing about Legacy of Lies. It looks the beans for a low-budget movie made in the Ukraine. So, big fan of that. Check it out. I'll be reviewing it on the site. And why don't you head over to jeawallace.com and buy some of Jim's music? Or poetry, or whatever you want to do. But go with
the poetry. I feel like you're going to get a better deal with the poetry because you get a book. It's my best work, I think. And you can read it in a cafe, with a mask on, or outside a cafe, I guess. You can read it outside a cafe.
Yeah.
And, it's such a beautiful photo by...
Ben Davis.
stoptalking.uk.org.uk. I think it was I think it's stoptalking.org. Anyways, Ben Davis, Stop Talking. He's got a website, the guy that did the front cover of my poetry book, and it's so amazing. And he did the front cover for my unreleased Macbeth soundtrack, which is one of my favourite things ever. Have you seen that? You've seen the front cover of that. It's such a good photo.
Yeah.
Such a great cover. It's one of my all-time favourite album covers. But anyway, go buy the poetry book. Also, just like, if you read ebooks, buy the ebook, because I think it's on... I can't remember what the fuck it is now. It's on Amazon, obviously, but it's on something else. But it's only like $1.
Wow, it is. It's stoptalking.org.uk. And what's crazy about that is I thought org was reserved for, like, charities and stuff.
Oh, I don't know about that. Anyway, stoptalking.org.uk. If you just want to look at some beautiful photographs, go check it out.
Yeah, I tell you what, he can't half shoot the hell out of London.
That's right. That's true.
And other places. There's a nice picture of Venice I'm looking at now. I'm just going to leave it coming up in the corner.
Good one with America too.
But check out that. Yeah, check out some photography. Jack Lardenberg, of course.
Jack Lardenberg, also another great photographer.
Another fantastic photographer. I tell you what, dude. If our legacy, because I asked this of Scott Atkins and Adrian Ball, because the movie was called Legacy of Lies, so I asked them what they wanted their legacy to be. See what I did there?
Jesus, man, you are just an idiot. You know what I mean?
They didn't see it coming. They were like, what's he talking about, our legacy? And I'm like, Legacy of Lies. They're like, Anyway, I feel like our legacy is that we have we have a community around us that filled the world, albeit in a small and localized way, with beautiful things.
The Ken Stabek trilogy from John Wallace is another excellent place. It's not Barricade. The paperback of Barricade, available on all Amazons, is a rip-roaring read
it is.
That you will not regret picking up.
No, do it. In fact, we could do a whole episode of all the people that I think you should support. But one day maybe we will. But definitely all the people.
Now, should we talk about the movie? Because the Christopher Rants, before you take a break, let's really stick it to Rants.
Yeah, I like the idea of Christopher Rants reviewing this. And then they went on for a bit about
And then they were nice about people and tried to encourage niceness. Bastard.
I just wanted them to review the movie. It's called the After Movie Diner. Yeah, you're missing the fact that movie is only one of those words. Anyway, So yes, the movie that we did this week, for anyone who listened to the whole 2-hour episode of last...
Which they did not. They
Wait.
absolutely did not.
No, the only person who did was Doug, apparently, and he decided to leave
He
me
just fast-forwarded to see if they're going to get to the fucking point. And he went too far. What are they on about now?
A snarky comment was left by Doug. That's about the only thing I think that happened last week with our reviews. I don't think anything else happened. I'm just looking at the numbers. Yeah, no, not very good. Anyway, it doesn't matter. At the end of last week's episode, or towards the end of last week's episode, we fell down a Brian Dennehy, Jack Reed rabbit hole where we found out, after a discussion about British detective movies and American police procedurals on TV, why no one had ever given Dennehy his own TV movie detective, only to find out that they did, Jack Reed. And I watched part of the first one, which is called Deadly Matrimony or whatever, until I realized that one's like 3 hours. So halfway through it, I was like, no.
It's what?
Turned it off. I think it's like 3 hours long.
Oh, fucking hell, okay.
But we watched 1994's Jack Reed, A Search for Justice, which is written, directed, and starring.
It is. It's
Brian
a Brian
Dennehy
Dennehy joint, isn't it?
It is
his legacy.
It is a Dennehy triple threat, is what this is. I almost feel like had Dennehy whistled the theme tune, he really should have just done that. Dennehy sings. Oh my God! Can you imagine the Dennehy Jack Reed album tie-in to this franchise?
Yeah. It'd be like a cross between Pavarotti and being punched in the face.
Yes, it would. Well, yes, which is not unlike what the movie's like. Do you want to do a rundown of the plot, Jim?
I think can I do a quick can instead, because I think it's probably more interesting than going through the plot, which is pretty generic. Can I do a quick rundown, and I do mean quick, of like my reactions to the movie, which I feel sells what it is the best. And my reaction was, oh God, this is one cheap TV movie pile of shit. Oh God, this is so incredibly generic. Oh God, even Dennehy's no good in this. This is terrible. And then I started to quite like it. Actually, I quite like that, because it's going to be based on true cases. He's actually pointing at things that are real and like real police work. And it seems to be more like actually how you'd go about making a case and persuading people to do things and make things happen. And I quite like that, and he's quite good. I quite like that there's like a political undertone thing, and that it's Dennehy against the system, but that Dennehy has something to learn about like who the system really crushes, even though he's feeling really terrible for himself. And I went from being like, oh God, this is going to be awful, to actually genuinely quite enjoying the movie. I thought it was quite good by the time it was finished. Is that fair?
I can't say that at any point I would recommend this movie, but by the same token, I can't say I hated it. In fact, weirdly enough, my reaction was probably the opposite way round of yours. I was kind of because I was really loving Miguel Ferrer's obvious hand-wringing villain at the beginning, like always being in the shadow and stuff. I think the biggest problem for me with the film, especially having watched Deadly Matrimony, which, by the way, never do it, is that and this may go throughout the whole series, and it may even be kind of what Jack Reed was all about, but the whole subplot in this about he's gone up against the powers that be, and this has held him back, and the police and the district attorney will never forgive him, and blah blah blah. Like all that is in the first one, and I've got to assume is in the second one, and I've got to assume is probably in the fourth one, because and in fact the Miguel Ferrer's character is interchangeable with Treat Williams's character from Deadly Matrimony. So I think, despite thinking,
listen, I know he runs a strip club, and a chop shop and is credibly accused of murder, but he also does a lot for the community, so we can't arrest him. It doesn't work. Like, he's just... What I like, actually, about Miguel Ferrer, most of all, is that he's absolutely every single villain you could imagine. Do you know what I mean? He's got all going on. Am I a crazy, dangerous, knife-wielding biker? You better believe it. Am I a respectable businessman, like, with ties to congressmen? Yeah, I'm that too. Do I run a chop shop out of the back of my garage full of, like, dangerous dudes? Yep, I do that as well. Do I run a strip club and have like shady like minions to boss around while I like sleaze all over the strippers? Yep, I do that too. How do you have time to sleep? Oh, and he's got a respectable family that he's like protecting. So how do you have time, Miguel Ferrer, to do
any of these things?
Anything? He's like 5 villains in one. It's brilliant.
Yeah, no. So he was my gateway into liking watching this. The nice thing about it is it does like bowl along at a pace, so it's not the 90 minutes are over pretty quickly and pretty harmlessly, to be fair. Like, to sit here and shit on this movie would be completely redundant and pointless.
Well, I don't. Other than the beginning bit, and that weird like 90s, he had like a weird, like a very weird 90s son. Do you know what I mean? He was like super 90s.
Yeah, super 90s.
Like, his son was none more 90s than like that haircut, that outfit. Just the whole thing was like screamed 90s.
Yeah.
Like having that as your kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I feel like there's a lot to pick apart here, and not negatively, but like from a thought process type way, which is kind of what excited me about doing this particular film, because while I don't think we should necessarily go on and do any of the other series, any of the episodes of the other series, there are a lot of like decisions in this that are just intriguing, and it is odd because, like we were talking about last week, you know, Americans are really good at the 40 minutes one and done procedurals, and Britain are much better at the sort of long drawn out 2-hour Inspector Morse type things, and this is sort of neither. It doesn't really have the cast of characters around him in the case of a Morse thing, although it was nice to see that the woman who plays his wife is consistent throughout the series. That's the same woman as who's in the other one, but there's not really like a cast of characters around him.
I would say I did like the way it was absolutely stuffed with that guys. Where did I know him from? Oh, I definitely know him. I like what's her face out of Buffy,
Amber Benson.
It was like the head of the bikers. What, like I knew him. You know what I mean? Like 5, 6, 7 people. I recognise all of them.
His wife Susan Rutten, Charles Hallahan, who is his immediate chief, who's the guy who's like, you're never going to make lieutenant. He was in The Thing. And
that's where I know him from. Yeah.
So it's his head that slides off and grows tentacles. No. So it's definitely chock full of that, guys, which is very charming, and they're definitely trying to like pack in some interesting things. I don't quite know who thought they could get away with California doubling for Chicago. I don't quite understand. Like, there's at one point there's a funeral, and it's so clearly like California. It really couldn't be anywhere else on the planet.
Yeah, that one passed me by a bit, but then I've never seen Chicago or California outside of movies. So, yeah, but I take your point. I guess it was so. That's the thing. Like right from the very beginning, it was so generic.
Yes.
Like down to why did Dennehy think that going with the what they call the V-neck waist, you know, like what they call, they're not sweater vests.
What?
But
cardigans?
You know what I mean? It was kind of like, it was like a cardigan, like a V-neck cardigan. Like his whole thing is like, and the way he moved, he was so unthreatening. But that's what I like too, is that as the movie went on, he went from being like, you know, I don't know, looking like he was on a golfing holiday, to actually being like quite menacing and like full of power, and you know, like the Dennehy that we know and love. You know, all that charisma.
I feel like that the thing that hampers it, and the thing that a Morse or an SU, a Law and Order or whatever doesn't fall victim to, is that it's trying to attempt to be all of these things. Like, there's some really nice touches with him training Dutton sort of on how to spot stuff, and this was in the first one as well. But like him being like, these, this is this kind of tire tread, this is this kind of shoe print, this is this kind of whatever, and you're like, that's nice because it feels authentic that someone who's already worked for the police force, clearly as long as Dennehy has, because he looks ancient in this, even if he's like, I bet when he made this he was like 52 or something, but he looks like 75. But there's a nice feeling of, you would expect him to have some skills on that level, you know what I mean?
Well, what I liked about it too is that it was all experience. You know what I mean?
Right.
None of it was like, I'm a wizard. Like that. The thing that made me hate Endeavour was when bloke was like, oh, and the guy that I noticed he was a priest because of the chalk marks on his trouser leg when he cycled through. They go, fuck off. Morse wasn't fucking Holmes.
Right.
You know what I mean? Morse knew people, and what was great about Morse is, and the reason he was all like classical literature and music and all that bollocks, was it was like there are things about people that don't change, whether it's in like ancient Rome or modern Oxford. Like, people's passions and flaws remain the same, and that's what he was able to tune into. Not like, oh, because he's a priest he's got a chalk mustache or whatever. And Dennehy was, none of it was like, oh yeah, my gut tells me blurg. It was all like, my experience tells me this and my experience tells me that, and I've seen these things before. And so when he was passing things off to Dutton, what didn't come across as like patronizing or like taking a young guy under his wing. It was like, you have good instincts and you're a good copper. So I've got experience that I can share with you that, you might better use in the future. So it felt more of an equal relationship between the two of them, rather than like, oh my God, like fucking Jack Reed's a detecting wizard. You know what I mean? Like, how did he ever figure out that, Miguel Ferrer was like 5 villains for the price of one?
Well, that's the other thing, is that there isn't like a case to detect, really. Like, it's not...
it's more like a Columbo thing, right? It's like, how are they going to nail him? And instead of it being like, you're going to take a telephone call where I'm going to pretend to be your sister, and then while you're talking to me, we'll fly a balloon overhead that'll make you go, oh my God, a balloon? That must mean that I killed her, or whatever. You go, well done, Columbo, for your fucking... no way is this going to stand up in court, but okay, kind of thing, which is fine, because they're always brilliant. And I love Columbo. But his thing was much more like building an airtight case, wasn't it? And then like cutting a deal at the end, and like you felt like all of it would be actually how it would go down, and that's what I liked about it.
Yeah, I think it was trying to be. Yeah, like, I don't know. I just think it was trying to be all these different things rather than just being.
I don't know. I feel like it was more like, what's interesting about this guy, because the other thing too, which I really really liked at the end, right, which is why it wasn't generic and it was different, is at the end when Dutton's made the lieutenant or whatever, and he's having his like congratulations party. At no point in his speech, even though like Dennehy like made it so that he became lieutenant, and Dennehy's ridden around with him the whole movie and shared his wisdom and taken under his wing and blah blah blah. At no point at the end in that speech does Dutton thank Dennehy. Right. Like not a bit, and it doesn't seem weird either, because it's like. And that's the whole thing too. It's like, I deserve to be here. If you have experience to give me, if you want to take me along and teach me stuff, that would be great. But let's not pretend that I'm like lucky or anything. I fucking earned this, and that was cool too. And Dennehy wasn't pissed either. Whatever look they exchanged was about like, we're two good cops, like we're in the same business. You know what I mean? We know what's going on, kind of thing. Not, some kind of debt or anything was owed. It was just, I just liked it, and it seemed like it was an interesting choice that another more generic cop thing would not have made. And there were lots of things all the way through like that, where it didn't do that. But because it's a TV movie, probably in like CBS in like the early 90s, it still has to be generic enough that people can like enjoy it for the TV movie that it is, I suppose.
Yeah, I feel like what's interesting is I feel like it's one step removed from like a Homicide, the TV show, in the sense that Homicide wasn't necessarily about the solving of the crimes and more about the personalities of all the detectives, right? Well, this isn't that, right? And it's certainly nowhere near as like cool or as knowing as Homicide. But it's the idea of, and what I liked about it is, if you could take Miguel Ferrer and the plot and trying to find out who killed the woman or whatever out of it, and it could have just been about the conflict that Dennehy has had with the precinct and with the district attorney for years, and the corruption at the higher level of the police, and African-American sergeant initially getting somewhere from, as far as the higher-ups are concerned, simply because he's a minority. But as far as he's concerned, and quite rightly too, he's like put in the legwork and done the work and has as much right to be there as anyone else, and so on and so forth. And when Dennehy gets a little bit grumbly about the fact that his past actions, which include arresting his former commanding officer for being a crooked cop, so it's always held him back from the lieutenantship. The moment like Dennehy tries to get a bit grumbly about that, I really loved the scene where Dutton was like, I mean, sure, I get why you're grumbly, but you know, you don't know the half of it necessarily. And Dennehy is like, oh my God, you know,
welcome to the party, pal.
And they have like a little bit of a back and forth where Dennehy's, I'm sure now if it was in a movie, it would be kind of like considered racist or whatever. But I don't think Dennehy is being racist. I think he's just being authentic. But he says that, don't give me that, nobody knows the trouble I've seen, which is the old spiritual, right? So that's kind of like it is racist, but you know what I mean? It's not like...
No, I get it.
It's not, it's referencing a very well-known black spiritual, to a black character, which is a little, racist, but it's not attacking of him or who he is. It's just more, you're black, so here's a black reference kind of thing. But he says it, and Dutton is allowed in the movie and is given the time to kind of speak to that immediately in a scene, and it made it feel like, this is from 1994, whatever. It made it feel incredibly relevant, like the way.
Yeah, I agree. He probably put it back in his box,
because it wasn't. But it wasn't tackled. Like, if a thing like this nowadays, right, and we've seen this and it's fine, and I understand why, but like stuff nowadays can get a little, people don't talk like people talk, right? They talk kind of preachy or whatever in order to make a point, and that's fine. I understand where that's coming from. What I liked about Jack Reed, the film is that people kind of talked how I imagine these guys talk. In fact, probably much nicer than the way these guys really talk.
Yeah, actually, you're right, because there was a nice thing all the way through where Dennehy would use actual cliches. I'm trying to think of a good one, but they weren't like given an ironic twist or anything. They were just like you say, how people would talk. I'm trying to think of a good one.
But in the way that Dutton was able to come back at him, and then Dennehy was, for all his hard-nosedness, and there was a lot of like hard nasality in the film, for all of that, he was immediately able to witness and respect Dutton's police work, and completely see him as a pathway to getting a good cop in a position of power, which I also really, really liked about it. I think really the things that let it down are not its aspirations, actually. So I was probably wrong about that. No, it's the production values, and to some extent the realistic way in which it's written, but the somewhat predictable and pedestrian, and like you say, very cliche way that certain things happen.
I don't know. I think it's more like, I mean, you're right, and that is all true, and those things do let it down. But I think it's more they feel like, as a TV movie, they need to they need to like keep the plot moving, right? They need to drive it forward. And so they use the fact that he's enraged that an unborn baby has been killed in this murder. And that's what's like driving him to justice. And
I just didn't feel the murder plot was that interesting. Like,
and it's not. It's like, in fact, the only interesting thing in it about the whole thing in Miguel Ferrer, the 5 villains for the price of 1, is that when Brian Dennehy like talks to him, they have this like moment, and it's quite a good little scene with Dennehy and Ferrer sitting there on the bench, and like Ferrer knows the game is up, and there's no like like double talk or whatever. He has like this moment of like realization, going, well, it's because I'm bored, and so
he is ennui.
Because he's Steve Ennui.
He's Steve Ennui.
And he basically, because that's the thing, it's like, why did he kill her? Because it didn't really make any sense. And then at the end to say, I just, I'm in a biker gang and I run a strip joint. And, he kind of speaks to the fact that he is 5 villains for the price of 1, is that he's perpetually bored. And so he and the only thing that gives him any kind of a thrill is transgressing. And so he needs the family, because otherwise he's got nothing to transgress against. It's like the fact that he's fucking that up and, murdering people and running strip joints. And like, again, that's what was quite, when you again go back and you think of that opening scene where Ferrer like duffs up a bloke for $500, and you're thinking that's such a piddling amount to start a movie off with. And the bloke's like, I'm dropping $1,000 in here tonight. What you doing? And he goes, doesn't matter to me, mate. And then like gets his goons to beat him up. And to do that for a small amount of money did kind of set him up as a weird, interesting.
The more you talk about it, the more you're completely selling me on this. I'm saying I think it was tainted by the fact that I watched the first one, and the first one was, and they're certainly similar. Treat Williams' character is very similar to Miguel Ferrer in kind of like 5 villains for the price of 1, and there is all like the corruption in the higher levels and all that. So maybe I was a little bit like, oh, this feels like a retread. But this one is certainly, head and shoulders above the first one for sure, and there is a ton of stuff in it, and it is really, it's like I say, it's sort of one rewrite and a nice camera lens away from being, sort of
the thing that bothered me is that his drive all the way through, and there's some really clever bits like when he's like. When him and Dutton are interviewing the next door neighbor, and Dennehy like gives Dutton a nod and a wink and starts like attacking her character, and so like Dutton has to be like, you're out of order, get out of here, kind of. It's just like a nice. It's like, yeah, I bet they do that, and it's not like, it doesn't feel like a cliche. It feels like this is a standard cop tactic where they want to get somebody to talk and how difficult that can be. But the whole like. Dennehy's righteous rage about the kid being unborn, which I get is like why that's being like, he's got to be like driven through it, right? Because it's like, here we go again, I'm never going to get the promotion, nothing's ever going to change, so they need to give him something to like drive him through the movie. And it did feel a bit like, I don't know, like that bit I didn't really like too much, but everything else, that's what I mean. Like the more it went on, the more I enjoyed it. Even though, and I'd be interested to know what you think about this. It only struck me about probably about half an hour in, and I did eventually get over it. But, and I don't know whether it's just this movie and the sweater vests, but there is something, right? Something of George Costanza in Brian Dennehy, like just. A tiny bit, like the way Costanza talks sometimes to people, and like the way that he's dressing them. Well, when like George is being like trying to be serious about something, or like making a point. Him and Dennehy actually talk and sound pretty similar.
Yes.
If you watch the movie, it's quite a weird. Like I never would have gone George Costanza, Brian Dennehy, like not ever, and yet. I guess, maybe they're from the same part of the world or something. I don't know, but there's definitely something there.
So Dutton continues throughout the series.
Yeah, I did wonder, because it's like, I did wonder whether he'd be the left, which means the rest of the series might be worth watching because it'll be less him fighting against everybody and a bit more like, like something else going on.
Yeah, and I think my problem is I was going into it a little bit expecting like Dennehy on the case, and him like busting down doors and cracking skulls and being a bit John Wayne about it, because he is John, like he has a John Wayne look. He's John Wayne meets George Costanza. That's what he is.
Yeah.
He's Wayne Costanza.
He would be best off in like a big hat and a massive Mac. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Dr. Mac.
But like, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but like there's the John Wayne movie Brannigan, where Brannigan goes to London, and because they've cast Richard Attenborough as the copper in London. Brannigan, John Wayne looks to be 7'8", while Richard Attenborough looks about 3'2". So it does look like Brannigan just kind of tears a swath through London, like eating people's faces and punching people in pubs and stuff. And I was expecting Jack Reed to be a bit Brannigan. I just expected Dennehy to be like, look out, Dennehy's coming. And he wasn't really like that. He was sort of more, I forget that kind of when I first was introduced to Dennehy, it was probably Cocoon, and the fact that he plays kind of a cuddly, smiley, twinkly-eyed guy in Cocoon. And I always assume Dennehy is going to be shouty and forceful, but actually when Dennehy acts, he's sort of a little twinkly-eyed. He doesn't use his size, and he doesn't like bellow or really like. There's a little bit in Jack Reed with the whole like thugs who show up and start like trying to wreck a convenience store complaining about beer, which was awful. But
yeah, that was very like mid '80s Sylvester Stallone. But what I liked about that was when Dennehy stepped forward and like put his hand on the guy and pushed him. That felt like there was an immense amount of power there. Do you know what I mean? That he wasn't stepping in with like, I know fucking kung fu or whatever, or I'm like Jason Statham, or you know what I mean? It was just like, I'm as big and powerful as you are, plus I'm a cop, so do you really want to do this? It felt like quite real, and he did use his size and his power in that situation to diffuse it, because that's what was required. But you're right, for the rest of the movie, he's very shambling. He spends most of the movie shambling through it.
He does. He is shambling, which I love. I do love the shambling Dennehy, the Dennehy shuffle, as I like to call it.
It's more like the Dennehy roll, isn't it? Like, he's got that, like, the Dennehy roll.
I prefer the word shuffle. Like, if you were going to do a dance, would you want to do the Dennehy roll or the Dennehy shuffle?
Yeah, fair enough.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Plus, shuffle has that idea of, like, kind of soft shoeing, shambling, soft shoe kind of thing, which I think kind of plays into Dennehy quite nicely. But yeah, he's not the door kicker in a kind of guy that I was hoping he would be. And I think watched with different eyes, I probably would have enjoyed this a lot more. Like I say, I do honestly think, especially the way we've been talking about it and the stuff you brought up, that, given a good camera lens and given a bit of a rewrite, you could almost make this as cool as a Homicide episode. Not meaning that it's anything really like Homicide in that sense, but it's like it in the sense of actual police procedural versus the fantasy of so many of these things. And I guess the fact that the murder is sort of mundane and sort of tedious and sort of obvious is part of the point. Like, if Miguel Ferrer had kind of come up with some huge Machiavellian scheme where, stuff was twisty-turny and you didn't see it coming until the end, that would almost rob this of all the authenticity it feels like it has in other areas. You know what I mean?
No, I agree.
As it is, Miguel Ferrer's big plan is take her down the quarry, shoot her, and then the next morning call up and be like, I seem to have misplaced a stripper. And you're like, that's your big plan, Miguel. Well, there we go then. I think had you not phoned up, they probably still would have shown up at your door, but you wouldn't have been quite so obvious.
To that like the transgressive thing, the thing that he enjoys is like doing something that will get him into trouble, like perpetually being on the edge of being caught, of being in trouble. Like that's what gives him the threat.
I did like Ferrer versus Dennehy. I did like those scenes.
I could watch a lot more of that.
That was fantastic.
Ferrer is great.
And Dutton was a great partner for him. I liked that.
Yeah,
I liked what Dutton and Dennehy. You know what I mean?
That's the thing, right? Actually, again, which speaks to the whole that guy nature of it, which is I can only assume is because Dennehy has mates, or like, Dennehy knows a good actor when he sees one, I guess. Which again speaks to Dennehy's, like he's obviously not afraid to surround himself with like Miguel Ferrer and Charles S. Dutton. You know what I mean? He's not like I'm the big show here. You know what I mean? But
he's a gentle giant, smaller ego than say your Steven Seagal.
Right, exactly. So that makes it a more pleasurable experience too, where unlike TV movies, you're not suffering through really terrible acting, like for a lot of the movie. Other than the kid who was just like annoying generic 90s kid, everyone in it could act like pretty well given what they were asked to do.
Right.
Like the greasy gravedigger guy was great. Like they were all believable. Even
he was from Beverly Hills Cop.
That's right. Fucking hell, yes.
The gravedigger dude was from Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah, but he was great too. And them sitting in his flat, and I liked that they were there and they were getting somewhere, and they were like, no, let's go. And Doug's like, where are we going? We've got no warrant. If he gives us anything, we can't use it. So let's go and get a warrant. And they take their time. He goes home and sees the wife, comes back with the warrant. And what I liked is, like, Gravedigger's still there. Because he's like, oh, I guess I'm all right then, because that's what a dumb criminal would do, right? We're like, well, they left, so I guess everything's cool. And then just, go and have a sandwich and maybe lie down. And then he seems genuinely shocked when they come back. You know what I mean? It was like, yeah, I bet that is how it goes. That they just like assume they're fine. That was pretty neat.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I like it even more now. I kind of do want to watch the next one. I don't necessarily want to.
I'm definitely happy watching more of these in the future, because I do feel like having got a grasp on what it is.
Yeah.
The trouble is, right, the future episodes or installments, I guess, could go one of two ways. Either they play up the Brian Dennehy's a cop against the system and he's full of like rage against evil, like that part of it. If it becomes that, I'm not interested. If they like keep going down the route of Dennehy's like a shambling plod with a great deal of experience, and he uses the experience to close cases, and if they want to like sprinkle some TV movie fairy dust on the bastard, great, but that's what I'm here for. Then I think I'll enjoy them. So it all depends on whether, if Dennehy's like, well, I have my fun, and yeah, I'll turn up with a paycheck, but now you're going to give it to John Q director and Arthur Q writer, they probably will start amping that up. Like clearly Dennehy writing and directing it means there's some interesting elements in there, because he's obviously not. He's clearly a smart guy and a good actor and has instincts, and chose a part for him and a film that clearly had like things in it that he responded to. So,
and this was his pet project, because by these middle movies, the ones that are available on Amazon, Dennehy is writing, directing, and acting in all of them.
Oh, great! Then they probably will be worthwhile. Then I'll definitely watch them.
Like the next one of our own, from 1995, which is the one that follows on right after this, is another Dennehy, and then
if it's a Brian Dennehy joint, I'm interested, because I think that
the next four are all Dennehy joints. The next four are all Dennehy.
Then I'm interested. Yeah, because I think the things I didn't like are there because that's what needs to be there if he wants to make his movie. But the things I liked and were interested in, I think are there because of Dennehy. So yeah, I'm down for it.
Yeah, and I also, so one thing I wanted to bring up then is there's also this there's this idea of him sort of having this family dynamic and da-da-da-da-da. What did you feel about his wife suddenly like jumping in and trying to like investigate stuff for him?
I suppose that was I think that was just to give her something to do. I know it sounds daft, but I think that if you were Dennehy and you're doing the movie, right, and you've got a wife, and all that's happening is you're coming home in the movie. You're coming home to your wife, who's like a regular character in the movies, right? And all she's doing is like, oh, you're working too hard, and have some breakfast, and like that's it. That's not much of a part for her, right? She's just, it's a day shooting in a kitchen. But also her in the strip club, it's quite fun. It's kind of believable, but really, I think it's about the graveyard scene. I think he really likes, he clearly loves the Thin Man, right? And I think he thought it'd be fun to get some kind of small, back and forth banter between the husband and the wife, preferably around the case, not just around like, whoa, suburban family life, but them like bickering like Nick and Nora Charles, right? I think he just wanted a little bit, and to have that in the graveyard as they're walking away with like Dennehy doing the Dennehy roll, and them doing their like Nick and Nora Charles banter was kind of cool. And I think that the strip club scene is sort of just meant to set that up, just to give us something to do. That's only my wild speculation, but that's what I'm here for. That's what you're going to pay me for.
I like it. Well, maybe you'd be interested in the next one. Jack Reed, one of our own. He investigates a young woman who he and his wife take into their household when she turns out to be targeted by unknown assassins. So again, I think there's Dennehy saying, we've got this great actress, Susan Rutten. We've got a great patois between us and a great chemistry between us and this whole thing. I even liked it when she did I could dance at a strip club thing, and then did like a little.
Yeah, that was kind of nice because it was kind of exactly the kind of silly, cheesy married joke that you would make. That's what it felt. You know what I mean? It was nice. It was kind of sweet. I liked
it. And it's also nice to see that people like Susan Rutten and Dutton, Charles S. Dutton, and Amber Benson, and others who have been in them keep coming back like they are in the future episodes, because they it must have been cozy to be like, well, once a year we get to hang out with Brian for a couple of months.
Because I bet he's a good director if you're an actor, because everybody's scenes were believable. They had something to do. They had something to get their teeth into. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like generic reacting. There was something going on for all of them to enjoy. The ones that had any kind of a role. Even the daughter, that conversation between her and the father is like, and like, even the things like Dennehy as a security guard at night and the guy driving up, they're not like hugely unexpected, but just kind of nice, It was nice. I liked it, and I'll if he's doing them, I'll watch more of them in the future. I don't think we should review any more of them, but I'll definitely watch them.
Yeah, but yeah.
So wait. So I chose this one, right? Basically.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's definitely your turn.
Definitely my turn.
Definitely your turn.
All right, my turn then next week to pick something.
You could introduce me to a genre that I've never, well, not genre necessarily, but I've never seen any Cynthia Rothrock. I've never seen any. What's your man who you interviewed? Scott Adkins. Never seen any of his movies.
Oh, really?
I've never seen any Speakman.
Yeah, you don't want to watch it. You don't want to watch it. Okay, you're really open. So if I pick something, what I'm trying to think of is there something that I've watched recently that I'm like, I want to introduce Jim to. I watched.
It could be something else. It could be something that, like, one of the things I was looking forward to doing was going through Amazon Prime and finding like random movies. Like there was one I found.
Well, that was what Switchback was. That was me trying to be like, a random serial killer thriller with.
Yeah, and it's not your fault, that it was rubbish.
Rubbish.
It could just have easily been great.
You see where my thought process was going.
Yeah, if I found it, I'd have gone. Yeah, as soon as you gave us an option, I was all over it.
90s thriller with Quaid.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, although I do like how we're kind of going through a lot of 90s subgenres. I think we should probably continue in the 90s. Just have a look. I tell you what, there is that one. There's a couple of slasher films from the 90s that Farley always talks up that I've never seen.
Oh, okay.
That I'll have to ask him again. I forget which one. I think one of them is Valentine, which I haven't seen, but I've it's kind of one of those that is now getting with hindsight, some good buzz about it.
Do we want to review a movie that somebody who we like and respect very much thinks is great? And because if we hate it, that could be a problem.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We'll have a look. I'll have a think, because I would love to find, like, I want to find the movie and show you a movie that you're like, oh, I'm so glad we got to see that.
Like The Trust.
Yes. And what's interesting is, like, I just feel like I feel like we'd come. I feel like I wish we'd come at Jack Reed a little differently, because I think we both. I just wish Jack Reed was a little more cool. I think, so that because it was almost there. Like, I loved everything in it.
No, you're right. It lacked cool. The beige trousers and the sweater vest. Basically, him wandering around looking like George Costanza's uncle.
Yeah.
Did like rob the film of some potential cool, but
it did. But I want to find a couple of things that I can kind of show you. I mean, I like the idea of me showing you like a Rothrock movie or whatever. But honestly,
I'm not sure you want to show me something that you love, because again, like, if I hate it, that's no fun. It's better when we come at something like this where neither of us know what the hell we're going to get, and then there's the chance of, like happens this time and happens the other way around some other times, when we can change each other's mind about how we feel about the movie, because we came to it pretty fresh, and insights into it if one of us is positive about it.
I mean, I'm never going to regret spending time with Dennehy. Like, that's never going to be a thing I regret.
Right, agreed.
You know what I mean? And I feel like I could dip back into Jack Reed when I want a cozy Sunday.
Oh no, yeah. When I'm feeling like, if I'm having a day, sometimes, especially during the day, or like a day off sick or something, I don't feel well, I would want to watch Jack Reed Search for Justice, because I want to be taken back to daytime TV movies on Channel 5 when I was off work. You know what I mean?
Agreed. So yeah, let me dig in. I think, interestingly, that like the 90s thriller genre is not a bad genre for you and me to tackle.
No, that's fine.
But
if we could do a mini 90s thriller season, I'm all right with that.
But also, I'm trying to find like the great lost classic, and I don't mean like a great work of art. I mean like a Real Men, or like a Trust.
Yeah, but we'll never know unless we try things. That's
right, exactly.
Like Trust. I think for me, the charm of whatever this particular season of the Diner is going to be is digging into movies that we like the sound of, that we've never seen, and seeing where it takes us.
Weirdly enough, although I don't want to expose you to a lot of action stuff, I wouldn't mind you watching like a Wings Hauser movie. I kind of want you to see some Wings Hauser, because he's particularly weird. Wings Hauser is kind of like the Grindhouse Dennehy. He's kind of like the Grindhouse Dennehy.
Well, if you could find a Wings Hauser movie that you haven't seen, maybe, that you like the sound of, we could do that.
Yeah. No, there are a couple. There's also a couple of deeply weird ones, but there's a couple of normal ones as well. So, and then there was that other one that I found that was like Fear City or something, that had Berenger and Billy D. Williams was in it?
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe.
But we'll find some. Anyway, that was Jack Reed, Search for Justice. He did find justice.
He did.
And he wrapped it all up in a nice little bow. And it was rather pleasurable. Well, look, that was our 9th anniversary episode. Tomorrow, literally tomorrow, which is going to be in about an hour and a half, is when 9 years ago I put up tentatively the first ever podcast episode. It had your brother on it.
What did you cover again?
He was the host. We covered Horrible Bosses.
Oh, that's right.
Woody Allen films. You obviously didn't watch my Facebook Live, because in it I was like, we talked about Horrible Bosses, Woody Allen, and the Evil Dead remake, none of which have aged at all well.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, if there's 3 things I don't want to ever talk about again ever, it's Kevin Spacey films, Woody Allen films, and not that I like hate all Woody Allen films now or anything like that, but it's just, you can't talk about him anymore. I don't need, like, he stood trial and everything. There was no wrongdoing that was found and blah, blah, blah. Like, but you just can't talk, like, talking about him now after everything, you just kind of go, let's not bother. You know what I mean? Like, let's not bother.
No, I know exactly what you mean.
And
it's however you feel about it, it's like in the way now. It's just in the way. It will always be in the way.
And it's such a shame because you're denying 2 decades of literally some of the finest comedy ever written. But I just can't do it.
I know.
It's weird. Anyway, so the first episode does not age well. I do not suggest people go back and listen to it, because we did a Kevin Spacey film with Woody Allen, a retrospective, and talked about the Evil Dead remake.
The thing that you hate the most in the world.
Yeah. So let's not ever do that. But 9 years, we've come full circle. Well, not full. Sorry, we've not come full circle at all. 9 years on, we're now talking about Jack Reed's
Dennehy TV movies. Which, if you put money on, like, exactly what kind of barrel will you be scraping? You know what I mean? 9 years in, you go, Brian Dennehy TV movies from 1993. Yeah, that feels very on brand.
No, but like if someone was going to cancel Dennehy, they would have already. I feel like
I'm saying
Dennehy's a nice guy.
What you after 9 years?
No, I understand what you meant.
You would be talking about.
I'm just saying that we're in safe. I feel like we're in safe housing with Dennehy. Sorry.
He's dead.
Is he?
Yeah, he's taken his secrets wherever they are to the grave.
Is Dennehy dead?
Dennehy is dead. He is Brian Dennehy.
Wow. Brian Dennehy was a tough guy, but also a real sweetheart, his famous friend said. When did he die?
Pretty recently, I think.
He died in April.
There you go.
How did I miss that?
There was a global pandemic that might have slightly buried the lead on that one.
Wow. Okay. Maybe I did know that Dennehy died. Okay. So yes, Dennehy's dead now. Okay. Yes,
well, Brian Dennehy, you will be missed.
You are Dennehy. But maybe I remember he died. I don't remember last week. What was I saying before we went down the Brian Dennehy is dead thing?
The first anniversary episode.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that 9 years from now, in 2029, I don't think we'll be sat here being like, remember the mistake we made reviewing a Dennehy film.
I see what you're saying.
Except...
Yeah, we should be having bigger conversations at that point.
Yeah. 9 years ago, I reviewed Horrible Bosses, Woody Allen, and Evil Dead remake, and I don't ever want to do that again. So I feel like we're still moving forward.
We are. Very
shuffling
much so.
Forward with the Dennehy shuffle.
The Dennehy roll.
Shuffle. Yeah. Dennehy shuffle.
I like Dennehy roll, and you're not going to be able to talk me out of it.
It's not a roll, dude. It's a shuffle.
It's Dennehy roll.
No, his shoulders roll, but his feet shuffle.
Yeah, but it's all about the shoulders. The feet are just catching up with the shoulders. That's what's going on with Dennehy.
Right, they're shuffling and catching up.
Yeah. You have shuffle, I'll have roll. We'll just have to live with it.
All right, dude. Well, look, I'll tell you by like Monday next week what movie we're doing.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, Wednesday's fine too. Like I always watch them the night before. So
okay.
If you can tell me to Wednesday evening, that's fine. I usually Wednesday at about 9ish. So any time before then is fine.
All right. And I'm trying. Yeah, I'll have a look. All right, man. Well, look. Happy 9th.
Yeah, happy 9th birthday, man. Congratulations on doing this for far longer than any other podcasts on Earth.
No. There's podcasts with thousands of episodes. I've only managed 300 and something.
Yeah, but have they been doing it for 9 years, though? I mean, you're just appallingly inconsistent. But you have staying power.
Kevin Smith, What the Fuck, with Mark Maron. There's a couple of others that are...
Is he still going?
Yep.
Okay.
Mark Maron does like 2 a week now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's sort of... But in terms of like my friends' podcasts, who's still going? Well, the dudes from the basement are still going.
Oh yeah.
It's a video thing, but my friend
Who writes the reviews that came from the basement? Is it Jason or is it?
I think it's Jason. I don't know.
Because I nearly always agree with the reviews on It Came From the Basement, except that they enjoyed Solo, A Star Wars Story, and There We Must Part. But that's the first time. Most of the time, I agree with them all the way. I like their reviews.
Brian Dennehy's middle name was Mannion.
You're making that up.
No.
If you
Brian Mannion Dennehy.
Wow. Mannion Dennehy. I wonder if he must have seriously considered using his middle name as his first name, right? Mannion Dennehy.
Oh.
Right? Starring Mannion Dennehy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right? I would.
He had 2 wives and 5 children.
Yeah,
one wife, Judith Schneff, who he was married to for 15 years. And then his other wife, Jennifer Arnott, who he was married to from 1988 up until his death.
That is a long time. So he was happily married to what's-her-face during Jack Reed's Search for Justice.
He was. And his daughter, Elizabeth Dennehy, also appears in the series.
Huh.
I believe she was the smallest of the girls in the film we watched.
Oh. Of Ferrer.
Ferrer's daughter, I think. That's who that was.
Interesting.
All right,
man.
sir. All right. Let's just end like that.
Dennehy trivia.
Let's just end with a... that seems...
I like you went from most interesting fact to down to the least interesting fact. And Dennehy's daughter is in the movie.
Yeah.
She is a cameo on some stairs.
When talking about...
This is the Crossy Reads IMDb section.
No. This was
DennehyFacts.com.
DennehyFacts.com. He once said, giving credit to his award-winning performances in the plays of Samuel Beckett, he said, "When you walk with giants, you learn how to take bigger steps."
Nice. That's a good quote to end on, man. I like it.
And I think that the reason why we take such small steps is neither of us are particularly impressive.
I think the trouble with you and me, mate, is we are both intellectual and spiritual midgets.
Can't use that word anymore. Cancelled, Jim Wallace. Cancelled. He used the M word. What's the bleeding M word? You know, midget. Is that a bad word, is it? Well, it is now. All right. Well, fuck it then. We should all just stop. Yeah, I don't know. People said happy birthday on social media, but not in an interesting enough way to warrant me reading any of them out.
Be witty or you don't get on.
Yeah.
Or at least more than 2 words, I guess.
All right, I'm done. I got indigestion. All right.
I think you should end with that sigh. That was a perfect way to end.
All right, dude.
All right. See you next week, man.
Yeah. All right, man. All the best.
Take care, dude. Bye.
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 I was living wide-eyed, no smarter than a child, thinking all was rosy. Every day I smiled. Then one day I came home to find you gone and left me. You even took my parakeet. All I got now is a holy bath towel and an old rickety seat. An old rickety seat. I wandered around that empty house like a dog without a bone. gave out a sigh, said one last goodbye, and hoped for some relief. I'm gonna head to the station. I'm gonna hop a freight train. I'm gonna ride them rails far away from the pain. I'm gonna be the king of all I survey, and I won't come back, and don't you try to find me, 'cause on these rails is where I'll stay. And on the train one night, fields gone whizzing by, that big old harvest moon up in the big dark sky. A train conductor caught me, and he hit me with a stick, and I saw stars as far as I could see. Rested it off in an old hayloft, but that train's the only place for me, the only place for me to be free, the only place for me to be free. And so I went back to the station and hopped another freight train. I'm gonna ride those rails, even though it caused me